In this tutorial, we'll see what is Ansible roles and how to create a role. Roles provides a framework for fully independent collections of variables, tasks, files, templates, etc. For example, if you create a role will have a standard directory structure where you will have separate folder for keeping your tasks, variables, even you can keep handlers in separate directory. We'll see this with an example. You can create roles for specific configuration tasks and provide a modular approach to automation. You can distribute roles either within collections or you can distribute it as an independent role. Roles promote code reusability and allowing you to leverage some functionality across different playbooks. And you can initialize a role using ansible-galaxy roles init command, or you can download a role from Galaxy using ansible-galaxy roles install. So we'll create a role first. I'll go to VS Code. We'll try to create a role within this particular directory. I'll go to 90 and ansible-galaxy. I'll give role -h, and here we can see one option init. So this will initialize a new role with base structure of a role. So I'll give init and I'll give -h, and here the positional argument is role name. So what we'll do, we will try to reuse this particular code within a new role, the handlers demo code. So there we were trying to configure an L3 interface and we were taking configuration backup if there is any configuration change in the interface config. So I'll call this intf_ip_config. This is going to be the role name. I'll enter. So now you can see this has created a new directory here. Let me expand this directory here. This has created all these subdirectories, and now we have separate folders for variables and test. You can put all the templates here. You can add the task here, and meta will contain all the role information. You can add all the role information here. Then you can add handlers here. If you have any files for this particular role, you can add it here. And all the default variables we can add in this particular directory. Everything will have main.yml. By default, first this will be reading the main file, and from there we can even redirect to the other files. So what I'll do here, within this directory, I'll create a new playbook 01 roles demo.yml, and I'll copy the content from this file. This I demoed earlier. There we have seen how to use handlers. So here we were trying to configure L3 interface, and we have added a handler. If there is any change in the interface configuration, we'll take the configuration backup, we'll save it and print the command Ansible has executed. So same task, I'll paste it here. Now we'll try to put all these logics into this particular role. Here we were running this against R2. First I'll take this main task, I'll cut this, and within this role, go to task main.yml. I added the task here, and from here we can take the handler code. I'll paste it here, And it is not mandatory to have all these folders here. You can even create a roles directory manually here, add these contents here. Like you can add interface ipconfig and task and main.yml. This will work. So you can delete all these folders if you're not using it. So it is not mandatory to have all these files. So here I have added handlers. In the previous example, we have given same name for both. I'll change it here. I'll change this to save config. There I have explained how to use handlers. Save it. And now I'll add a task here. Name include new role and ansible.built-in.include role. We have another option called import role that we'll see later. The difference between include and import. Here we need to give the role name. Role name is interface ipconfig. intf ip_config. Save it. Now I'll get into this particular directory. So I'll press cd double dot because my inventory is located here. By default it will be reading the inventory and ansible config file is located here. So from here it will be reading the config file and it will redirect to this particular inventory. And from here we'll try to run the playbook. So I'll give ansible playbook 19 then 01. So this will be running against R2. You can see here now this is triggering this particular task which is there in the role. Now if you see, this has made the changes to the device, so it is just printing the command. And let me take a look into the task file. You see here in the task I was just notifying only this particular handler. Let me open the handler file. So it was just printing the command. Instead of that we'll use this particular listen so that it can trigger both these actions. I'll go to the task file. I'll change this to this. I have already explained in the handler demo. Now we'll try running this again, and before that I'll change the IP to 1 so that it will trigger the handler. If there is no change, it won't trigger the handler. Now there is a change. It is changing the IP to 10.1 and it is trying to save the configuration. Now even it is taking both handlers from here using listen option. So now we have clear separation between the task and handlers here. Same like that, if you want to add some templates, you can add the templates here. Variables, you can add it in the defaults or for variable precedence. I have explained earlier. It will be giving highest precedence to the task level variable, else it will be taking vars. If it is not there in the vars, it will take defaults. Now configuration is updated. Now we'll try to take out the variables from here. Instead of this interface name, I'll give a variable, and this variable will pass from the main task. I'll call this intf name, and this one I'll call intf address. Save it, and even the backup location will change it. Previously this was storing the configuration backup to this directory. Let me just check the code once again. The handlers, so it was storing the configuration backup to this directory. It should be here. Now instead of this, I will give this directory. I'll copy the path. Here I'll call backup file path. Now we have all these variables set here. Now within the task, we have two variables. It is interface name, interface address, and in the handler we have backup file path. Now we need to pass all these three variables whenever we are executing this particular role. First we'll try running without passing the variables. We'll be getting an error. It is saying variable interface name is undefined. Now we'll see how to pass the variable. I'll go to the main playbook file. Here to pass the variable we can give vars, then intf name, and give gigabit ethernet 0/1, then intf address, we'll give 10.10.2/28. then we need to give backup underscore file path, and I'll paste this particular location. And now we'll try running the playbook again. Now this is able to run the task. Let me open the directory. Now if you see, this is storing the backup directly here. I'll delete this file and I'll give backup directory here. And now if you want to move this to a common location, what we can do, I'll copy this value, comment it, and we'll even try to comment the IP address. We can put it within the roles default variable. Paste it, and I'll put even IP here. So from here I'll copy this value. I'll give IP 10.1. Save it. So now we are passing only one variable from the task, and other variables are set within the defaults main.yml. Now we'll see the variable precedence here. Now if you see, this is configuring the IP 10.1. Now from the defaults, I'll take this IP and we'll put the value here. I'll change the IP to 2. Now in both places we have defined, but now this vars will take the precedence. We'll run it. And you can see here backup is getting stored. Now I'll enable the variable here. If you want to store the backup into common location, you can delete it from here and we can keep it in the defaults. I'll save it. Now I'll change this IP to 3. Save it. We'll try running again. Now this variable will take precedence over the defaults and vars. You can see now IP has changed to 10.3. Now this is configuring only R2. Now we'll see how to reuse this particular role. For that, I'll run this against routers and I'll copy this, and here I'll put a when condition. When inventory hostname equal to R1, I'll give this. I'll give IP 10.1. And if it is R2, configure 10.2. Now the backups will get stored in the same location. Save it. Now we'll try running the playbook again. We're getting an error here. There is a typo here. We'll give inventory. Save it. So now we are triggering same role 2 times for different devices. Now if you see here, the first task is running only on R1, and it is even triggering the handler. The second task is running only on R2. And if you notice here, handlers are getting triggered in the end. And you can see here it is storing the configuration backup for both the devices. For R1, this is a configuration backup, and R2, this is the latest backup. In this way, you can reuse the code and implement modularity. And if you want to change the interface, you can just change the interface and it will try configuring that particular interface for any other device. Now I'll show a small example of how to download a role from Galaxy. I'll go to Galaxy. To search for the roles, we need to go to roles. I'll give Cisco_NXOS. We're not going to use this role. I am just going to demonstrate how to download it. You can use same method for downloading it. It is a very old role, but I'll just show you how to download it. We can just use this command for downloading the role. And before that, we can use this command for downloading the role. And before that, we'll give ansible-galaxy role list. And here it is saying it is not able to find the role. We have to give the role path. And it is checking in all these locations for the role. In the user home directory .ansible roles, it is looking in this location as well for the roles. Now we'll execute this command. Downloading that role. So now we have the role available in the user home directory .ansible roles. So in this way you can download roles from Ansible-Galaxy. And you can even put a requirement file and download it. Same like how we did for collections. You need to give roles and name and type, version, all the details you can give and download it. I hope this video was helpful for you to understand how to create a role and how to add the variables and how to download a role.